We have reached December on the NFL calendar, and joining us from Angle Sports is Adam Chernoff. Keep that record, boys and girls. 11-9. The grind continues. The cream tends to rise as we play out the string for the rest of the regular season. Let's begin with this game on Thursday. I'm fascinated by the look-ahead number where it was and the current number where it is. Look ahead, Detroit -6. Superbook holding steady, 3 -20. A lot of 3.5 in the market. I'm texting with bookies all week. They don't think Detroit is healthy on defense, Adam.
You went 0 for 2 on the first 2 intros. Are you proud that you just made it through intro number 3 unscathed?
0 for 1. 0 for 1 for the record.
Oh, that's a generous 0 for 1. It was more 0 for 2. But
whoa,
are you feeling good
I've
now?
had your back more than anybody this year, and you just run me over, huh?
No, I said it would have made for good content to open with the prior 2, but here we are, intro 3.
You just wanted the people to see me slap myself in the face. Don't lie.
All right, we'll talk Packers, Lions now that we've made it this far into the stream without interruptions. You're right. They're not healthy. Here's what's intriguing to me a little bit, though, is on the broadcast during the Thanksgiving game, there was a comment made how the Lions are down 9 defensive starters. Now, they have a lot of guys on IR, and there's a lot of guys banged up. I get it. But at some point, Sam, like, when are we acknowledging that these guys are starting to get priced into what this number is? We haven't seen Aiden Hutchinson on the field for several weeks. Alex Anzalone has been out for a number of weeks. Derek Barnes hasn't played since September. And so while there's a lot of guys hurt, a lot of these guys have been hurt for a long time. Last week, the big loss was Malcolm Rodriguez. Okay, so that's someone who carries over into this week. Same thing with DJ Reader on the defensive line. So that's something that carries over into this week. So it becomes a question of how much do you adjust down? What I don't know is being fully talked about or factored in here is both Carlton Davis and Emmanuel Mosley in the defensive backfield are expected to play in this game. Davis didn't play last week, and Mosley is still waiting to make his debut. And so does that offset some of the loss for Rodriguez and Reader? Potentially. We're from 6 down to 3.5 now. And I'm looking at more than just a look-ahead line. I'm looking at historic power ratings from different sources. We go back just a couple of weeks ago, this game would have been Detroit 4 on a neutral. So this is now kind of basement-level pricing on the Lions. And I don't know if these defensive injuries are being more than priced in than they should be. I think it's a fair question.
Well, I wonder, too, about Detroit, if this is the time to relatively buy low. When was the last time we saw a Lions team laying only a field goal? Granted, a price field goal at that, -118 at DraftKings, -120 Superbook, Buckeye -0.25. When was the last time? I don't have it in front of me. I'm asking rhetorically. When was the last time this Lions team was only 3 at home?
Well, I was going to say they closed 4 on the road at Houston in that game that was bet back and forth. But in terms of being this small of a favorite at home, you go back to the Seattle Monday night game where they closed -4. But we're talking about a Lions team that is in a completely different class right now than they were then.
No doubt. Let's look at this game. Very interesting. Chicago, San Francisco. Let me pull the board up a little bit here on the Odds Logic screen. So this was 5.5 Monday morning, and we were doing BetQL Daily, Joe O and myself, and most of the screen was at 5.5. There were some 5s. And then Circa decided at 10:30 in the morning, we're going to open 3.5. Here you see 3.5 at 10:33 Eastern, 7:33 Vegas time, Monday morning. I just so happened to be staring at that game, and this sucker right here went red. And you know as well as I know, when Circa goes 3.5 and everybody else is 5.5, we're going to get to the middle. One way or the other, we're going to get to what the number should be. Sooner or later, everybody was 3.5. I was surprised to begin with. It was 5.5, but I'm thinking, all right, well, there's no need to move yet. And then when they moved to 3.5, everybody eventually got there. There's been a little buyback. Some books at 4. Let's call it 4 -10. San Fran, Chicago, a lot going on in this game.
A lot going on in the game, but it sounds like there's a lot going on during your broadcasts. Are you ignoring Joe and the viewers while you're doing these bets, or like, how does that work?
I basically said code red. We need to bet the Bears, and we all bet 5.5, and that was nice. You're not always that lucky to be sitting at the screen when a big market mover throws out a differential number. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a pretty big gap from 5.5 where the market was to 3.5 on a Monday morning.
Yeah, it was. And so there's a couple things at play here. Obviously, the 49ers injuries are significant. And so we see a lot of question marks around it, too. You have to downgrade the Niners because you lose McCaffrey, because you lose Mason. You don't know what you're getting with Trent Williams, who's a massive factor to this offense. How healthy is Brock Purdy with the arm injury? Unlike the Detroit question marks with the injuries and the adjustment, we're seeing a lot of recent stuff for the 49ers, which has to be factored in. So that number's coming down. And for Chicago, it's a matter of the Eberflus removal, which was called for by everybody. You always get a bump and an increased motivational effort in these games when you have the coach removed and you have someone like Thomas Brown stepping in who the players want to play for. And so both of those working against each other, plus the reopen is why we're getting to where we are. Sam, I think this game is a very kind of complex handicap, but I'll say two sides here. If you're looking at the Niners, the case for this is very similar to the case making for the Lions, where, I mean, this game a couple of weeks ago would have been San Francisco -4.5, -5 on a neutral. Now it's at home and we're seeing 4. So how low is too low for the downgrade? If you're trying to justify a case for the Bears, you're saying they just ran the NFC North gauntlet, playing their top 3 divisional opponents, who are the top 3 of about 6 or 7 teams in the NFL at the moment, the way that they're playing. And they were competitive against all of them, despite having these coaching issues and everything going on behind the scenes in the locker room. There's also the Washington Hail Mary game that went against them too. So it's been a weird run of games where the Bears have been very competitive, but haven't been able to get over the edge. How much of that is their red zone defense getting lucky versus how much is it a team that's just competitive but has a coach that was making detrimental decisions late in games? Very intriguing game, very similar to the Thursday Night Football, where I think it's going to be a lot of sort of differing opinions on how this gets bet. But again, it's another team that we're viewing as one of the better ones in the NFL. Maybe not so much now after their injuries, but in terms of the lowest price we've seen on the Niners in a long time.
You've given 20 picks this year on Chicken Dinner, 11 and 9 in the money. We're saving up for the Oreo footlong at the end of the season. I'm hearing that you like this one. Sunday night, 141, 142, LA Chargers at Kansas City.
I do. I mean, we've been threading the needle the last couple of weeks, and there was debate pre-show about one of the games we just talked about making the best bet. But I'm going to go with Kansas City -3.5 to continue the push here. 12-9 with 12 and 9 with 4 weeks remaining would be significant as we start to count down towards the end of the season. Couple things with KC, Sam. One, I'm expecting DJ Humphries to start at left tackle. That is massive for this offense. That is going to stabilize the O-line and be huge. And so I'm expecting that to be true. Number 2, Ladd McConkey, I am expecting to miss this game. The LA Chargers, when targeting Ladd McConkey, have a 53% passing success rate. When they target any other wide receiver, that drops down 10%. That's the difference between elite top of the NFL to bottom 5. There's not a lot of depth at skill position for the Chargers past McConkey. He is also the best route runner in the NFL from an EPA per target perspective against man, which is what the Chiefs play a lot of. If he is not on the field, which I'm expecting him not to be at the time of making this bet, that's going to free up the KC defense in coverage and allow this pass rush to have a lot of success. We saw the Chargers struggle against the Falcons, who have had the worst pass rush all season. This game, when the first 2 teams played earlier in the season, was 7. Now we're back in Arrowhead, and it's 3.5. Similar to the other 2 games we talked about, this is a very good team. I'll put San Francisco on the side for that, but like the Lions, a very good team is now at a really low price. I like KC here -3.5 Sunday Night Football. Let's get to 12 and 9 for that Oreo footlong.
Adam Chernoff, Right Angle Sports, buying low on the champs.
Thanks, Sam.